And welcome back. I told you that we would be back. I didn't know that.
You did.
But I did tell them that we would be back. And we're back.
Yeah.
Because I'm a man of my word.
Yep.
And if you don't know, this is the From Corner to Corner podcast. We look a little different this time because Wes just exited the show. And we added somebody much more important in Coach Jason Mays. So this is the From Corner to Corner podcast. We got Adam, we got Sean, we got myself, we got Coach Mays. We got producer Darren back there with the microphone. We may hear from him a time or two. But, guys, how'd your week go?
Solid.
Did
you have a good Christmas?
Interesting.
I mean, our week was good, but we didn't bring home any hardware to Montgomery County like Coach Jason Mays did.
I mean, we basically made Estill County Montgomery County Annex.
You know they serve Caesar salads at their concession stand?
As they should. What good basketball arena does not serve Caesar salads?
Even at the middle school.
Yeah, so on Saturday, a kid for Covington Holy Cross dunked in warm-ups and shattered a backboard.
So that's why I had to
at
move.
Estill County High School.
I was going to ask why I had to move.
I was too.
The last time I've seen that was my first year after I graduated Georgetown. Will Carlton at Georgetown was a senior. It was a senior day. He threw a lob up. He was gonna bounce and he was gonna catch it and dunk it. He threw it up, did a cartwheel, caught it, dunked it, shattered the backboard. 10 minutes before they were supposed to play Travis Ford in Campbellsville.
Oops.
Yeah. But anyways, so they couldn't play at the high school Saturday. And so they had to move it to the middle school, and it was great. They moved the concession stand over there. They got one side of the gym is bleachers, the other side is just benches, and it was full. Probably louder in there than it would have been in the high school. It was a really good atmosphere. We got a much-needed wind.
Now, two questions. One, how long does it take to get that fixed? And two, what's it cost?
Well, their goals are the old kind where, it's they've probably, they built Estill County High School, in the early 80s, mid 80s, I think. So it's going to take them
How did Christmas break go for you guys, Coach?
I mean, that's a loaded question. I really like where we are. That being said, we're not where we want to be or where I think we're going to be. But it's been a challenging season, and I knew it would be. I've been out there throwing out the saying we're going to be the best 500 team in the state come 1st of February, really hoping that wouldn't come true, but it is going to be true for several reasons. One, we've had some games we played extremely poor. Lincoln County, last day of the Gateway, we were atrocious. At Powell County, atrocious. And then we've played some really good teams that we didn't belong on the floor with at that time because I didn't know how to coach the team. They didn't know how to play for me trying to coach them. But then, we had a bad loss at home versus Bourbon County. And then another factor is we haven't been healthy. I mean, we had 2 games where we had, at the time, 53 points a game sitting in street clothes because of injuries. Then it went down to 32, 31, 33 points a game. So Luke practiced yesterday, today, no contact. He goes to the ortho tomorrow at UK, and we're hoping he gets cleared. But, he's got a really bad, there's a UCL ligament in your thumb that prevents your thumb from going back towards the inside of your wrist. And I've had 2 players that have missed the season because it tore from the bone and there has to be a screw put in and you're out 8 weeks, So I think we're fortunate that he's not missing the season. So it was just a really bad sprain and it just takes some time to heal.
Yeah.
So he's been out since the Bourbon County game. He got hurt in that game and that was December 15th. So I think it's made us stronger. We definitely have had adversity, but we're getting better. So I'm proud of our guys. We got a long way to go. This is a big week for us in practice. We had a 2.5-hour practice today. I know they're tired because I'm tired watching them get tired. But I like where we're headed.
So would you chalk up, you talked about the atrocious play and had some really bad losses. Would you chalk that up to growing pains?
Yeah, I guess in a roundabout way. What mainly it is I wasted 38 practices this year. I think today was practice 44. For 36, 37, 38 practices, I was trying to figure out what we do well and how we can do those things in live competition on the floor come game time. And I was just missing. I was just, this ain't working, that ain't working, this ain't working. So part of that is I think I was waiting on them to meet me where I was, where instead of meeting them where they were, which is weird because they're way more talented than what they've been playing. But it just goes to show you how much of a team sport basketball is.
Right.
Because if you got 5 players that are on the same page, it really doesn't matter how individually talented they are come game time. Combine that with injuries and combine that with youth. This is the first year Tice Jarvis has played man-to-man defense outside of AAU, which, they don't play defense.
Not often.
Sorry, AAU buddies, but, that's not, they're there to get exposure in front of coaches and play and try to score as much as they can. But, middle school, we played zone.
Yeah.
The guys that played for John before I was here, they played a lot of zone last year, about 75%. So I've said from day one, it's going to take until January, early February for them to understand how we're playing defensively. And although I was right, I hate the fact that I was right.
Right.
So, but we're going to be better off for it. A cool thing. A buddy of mine sent me a text the other day, said in 2018, first year at Ashland, on December 29th, we were 5-6. We were 7-8 on December 30th, my first year in Montgomery County. Yeah. And that's important. That's perspective. Yeah. Because when you're right in the middle of making progress, it's hard to see the little steps.
Yeah.
It's really hard. Whatever, not just in team sports and basketball, but just probably growing a bit. You're growing your podcast.
Yeah.
Where you guys are right now, it's probably hard to see the little steps forward that you're taking because you're wanting to take bigger steps. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if it's greed or ambition, whatever it is. We're all guilty of it. And so that was some perspective that, hey, we're taking steps forward. And so winning that tournament this weekend, we beat some good teams. I mean, Lafayette's a lot like us right now. They got all new players, relatively new coach, and they're getting better. Man, they're hard to guard. It's a bad matchup for us. And then Covington Holy Crosses, they were 7-2 going into that game, and we were down 16. We were down 31-15, and just fought our way back. And it finally started clicking. And then, but we also have some non-basketball things we're working through. I think this team is uncomfortable winning. As weird as that sounds.
Yes.
I think there's anxiety around having a lead in a game and being uncomfortable with how to respond to that. Okay, you got an 8-point lead. All right, let's take this. Let's take Lafayette, first game, up 13. Let's take Bourbon County, up 13 or 14 in the first half. We were up on Woodford County, who's a top 15 team in the state. We've had games where we had leads and we were playing well. Lincoln County up 11-5 first quarter. He has to juice a timeout. We're playing well. Never was the same after that. It's like they don't know how to respond to prosperity in the moment. And so we're really breaking that down from a sports psychology standpoint. And, the funny thing about anxiety, guys, is it's all future based. Yeah. Like it's all what ifs. Our brain is its job is to scan the dangers, the landmines that we could potentially step on in life. I think that's how we were created. We have this free will. We have this brain that has more energy and power and computation skill than any computer on this earth probably ever will have. And we as humans, we don't know how to use it. But this brain sometimes says, okay, you need to be nervous because you might say the wrong thing, or you might get made fun of, or you might look fat, or there's all just coming into this room, Same thing in basketball game. Okay, what if I miss a shot? Are we going to lose the lead? What if I turn it over? What if I don't know if I remember this play the right way? And we start wigging ourselves out as they're teenagers in a basketball game, and it usually happens when they're ahead. And so it's been fun for me to navigate those challenges with these kids because never really had to do that before. But our word of the year is competitor, and everything we do is how are we competing? What does competition look like? What's the character portrait of a character in this situation? And so like today, I bet I said the word compete and competitor and competition 20 times. I mean, we're wearing that word out because that's what ultimately we've got to be better at, is being better competitors.
Well, you said a while ago that you basically essentially wasted the first 38 practices. So have you had to change the format of practice, or is it just the goal of what you're trying to get out of each of these practices that you've had to change?
That's more X and O stuff.
Yeah.
We're changing some of the schematic, like offensively, I was prideful, and some of the stuff that I know over the years has really worked. Prideful that I've had coaches of the highest level say, hey, that's really good. I'm stealing that. Hey, walk me through this set. I saw it on one of your kids' highlight tapes. Want to put this in, and they're coaching the ACC. So I think there was pride that my stuff was really good. Plays and stuff. But that doesn't mean it's good for my high school team in Montgomery County High School.
Right.
So that was humbling, but it's all part of the process of figuring this team out and being self-aware. And not having pride caught up in what has worked, but what will work. I think there's a big difference there,
So you were talking about, your injuries and people being out, but that has also allowed some other guys to get some time and play pretty well.
Yeah. Depth is an issue for us. And I was watching an old YouTube video on Coach Cal. What's the guy, Grant, In Depth with Grant Bensinger or something like that? You ever watch his shows? He has some great guys on there. Really, sports leaders. And I was watching one the other day with Saban. But I was watching one from 2015 where he had Coach Cal on. And Coach Cal's right. He said in this interview, I don't know of a coach that plays more than 7 or 8 guys. He was talking about when he platooned, 5 in, 5 out. He said there's some rare exceptions, and that was one of them. He said, but the reason why you don't probably want to play a whole lot of guys is because it's hard to get a rhythm if you're shuffling guys in and out all the time, So you can't really complain about not having great depth when you're probably not going to play a lot of depth in the first place. But at the same time, those guys that aren't getting the minutes are as important to your team and your locker room and your culture as the guys that are. So there's a fine line between balancing what is called the Pareto principle, where 80% of your results comes from 20% of your talent, or 70-30, 75-25. It's true in life. It's crazy how accurate that is. But, there's a reason that Luke and Tice and Brecken and depending on the game, Ethan, those 3 or 4 guys are major points producers. And there's been some games where Dawson just had 17 in a game against Holy Cross last week. So, but usually it's 2 or 3 guys that bear the brunt. I was Ashland the other day. The head coach called me. He had 3 guys score. They had a win against Jeffersontown in the semifinals of the AIT. He had 3 guys score. So you better make sure that that small group that's producing that 20%, that's producing 80% of your results, is getting really meaningful reps every day in practice, because that's what's going to win or lose you games. Right. But at the same time, the guys that produce the 20% of the results, the 80% of your locker room, you have to make sure that they're buying in and they understand the roles and proper expectations have been set forth clearly and concisely early on, and that you're managing their egos and their situations, and because I want them to compete too. So what motivates them to compete every day as hard as they can and not play any minutes in the next game?
Right.
It's hard.
Yeah.
But the coaches that figure that out usually win a lot of games in their life. So it's so some guys have had opportunity, but Isaiah Rowlett is one. He's a freshman, and Isaiah's got a ton of potential. But that's what it is right now. It's potential. He has a pure stroke. He's got a very, very nice shot for him, high level shot for him. I think if he gets as tall as his brother, he'll be 6'4.5", 6'5", before it's all said and done. Loves the game, wants to work hard at it, needs to fuel his body better. That's part of being a teenager, right? Eventually you got to quit eating cereal and peanut butter and jelly sandwiches all the time and goldfish. You got to fuel your body. So he's starting to do that better.
That's what my problem is.
You fueled your body too much.
I did.
Yeah, too much fuel.
And but he's got to learn to score off the dribble and not just off a catch and shoot. And he's got to learn to welcome pressure, not shy away from it. He needs to learn to play in tight spaces, not constantly seek space, because those guys are usually easy to guard. So, but he's helped us. He's getting better. He's going to be a really good player. He's going to score a lot of points in his career here before it's all said and done. And then I love Dane Clutie. Dane Clutie's averaging like 500 fouls a second right now. But I love Dane. He's one of our best on the floor communicators. His energy level is great. He's the clown in the locker room, if you will. Clown's not the right word to use, but he's the
morale guy,
the joker, And he's a glue guy for us, and he's been awesome because there'll be games where he'll play 7 or 8, 10, 11 minutes. There'll be games he doesn't get in, and he's the same. So I really love Matthew Willoughby. He's a senior. Matthew's got to play a little bit. Probably wants to play more, but those guys know that we're trying as a staff, and they're letting us coach them hard, and so those guys are just as important as Luke and Tice and anybody else that starts. Brecken's starting to play a lot better. I think Brecken was forcing the issue too much early on. There was 5 games in a row he had missed I think it was 9 layups. And you just got to let him play through it. What are you going to do? Sit there and harp on him? Who do you think knows he missed a layup more than anybody?
He does.
Himself, jump shot starting to come around a little bit. He's getting a little moxie to him. I think he's tried to lead, but he didn't know really how to lead because he didn't know what really my expectations for him was. So how's he supposed to lead others if he's confused about my relationship with him and his relationship with me?
Yeah.
So guys, this is why I do what we. That's why I'm a high school coach that has no idea how much money I made in my last paycheck. I just hope it hit the right bank account. I would do this for free. And it's investing in these kids and having a community wrap around them, and which I don't think we've caught traction on that yet, and it'll probably take a year. But I love what we're doing right now. I love where we're tracking towards. Our district's so tough. Clark County, they've only lost one game. They're good. Josh does a heck of a job there. I'm not just blowing that air up his skirt. He's got it figured out, but he went through these growing pains when he first got there. Mason County's can really score the ball. Harrison County's got their main guy back or coming back in a few weeks from a hand injury, so that'll change their dynamic. I think Bourbon County's way better than people were giving them credit for. Now, do I think we can win the game? Yes. Should we win the game? Yes. But they came in our place and beat us. But so I don't know what it's going to look like come March. But I know that we're going to be a much better team come that time, and we're going to be better competitors come that time. And so it's not a matter of will we win. The WHEN and WIN are 2 words that have just been in my mind. Win, EN, will we win, IN? And, as a man of faith, you sort of just put it in God's hands and hope that you're doing everything that, he calls me to do as a coach for these kids, and that it'll happen in its own course.
Well, you touched on the win, EN, and the IN. That was part of your video that we saw floating around. And one of the things that I noted that I caught out of that was at the end of every practice, you all are taking the picture of win, WIN or WEN. You will win a district or regional, and I think that's pretty cool because you're putting that positive mindset of it's not a matter of when, or it's not a matter of if, but when, right? Yeah. And that's the kind of mindset that you got to have in order to move forward towards that goal.
You got to see it before you see it,
right?
And so you saw. I don't know if you guys have seen. I am not active on social media like I have been. I don't know if it was because everything that led to me no longer being at Ashland and how that affected me and my family. And I mean, that was not a fun time. So sort of got burned by social media during that time in my life, but I'm also getting older, and my focus has been really on this team. And, if you do social media, right, it takes a lot of time.
Yeah.
So I haven't been as active on it as I have in the past, but don't really regret that. But if you have been on social media, I think I posted the team picture when we won the trophy at the Estill County tournament. If you look at that picture, every one of those kids, they're not in a random spot. They're in exactly the same spot next to the same person on the left and the same person on the right that they're with every day at the end of practice. We close practice that way. And I'll say 1, 2, 3. They all, act like there's a camera up there. And it's not the first time I've done that. We did that at Ashland. And so I thought that was something I wanted to bring with me. It's just it's pre-visualization. And so after that win the other night, they said, "Coach, can we take our picture?" I was like, "Yeah, but it's a scrimmage picture. It's not the real picture." Because the real picture is when you win a district or the regional tournament.
Right.
So, buddy, we've been meditating. Get this team figured out. I've tried everything. I'm not going to give up on them. So we're 7-8. Should have beat Powell County. That was no offense to Powell County. They played really well. They got good players. They're better than people realize. But we were not the best versions of ourselves. I'd like to have the Bourbon County game back. I'd like to have the Lincoln County game back. So everybody says, "Well, you've been hurt. You've played a great schedule." We have played a crazy schedule, but we had everybody at Powell County. And we didn't have Tice against Bourbon. And we didn't have Luke and E was hurt. No, E wasn't back we were missing 2 starters at Lincoln as well at home. But, we've had games we didn't play well with all those guys.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, it's just an excuse. Yeah. And I think our guys are getting annoyed when people say, "We've played such a good schedule and you've been hurt," because they've heard me say that's just an excuse.
Yeah.
So, but we're playing better. We're practicing better. I'm coaching them more efficiently. Our staff is doing really well, man. Jordan and Brent are, I could have hired a 3rd or 4th assistant, and I didn't this year because it was important that I hire guys that I knew were going to be there every day and work their tails off and do what I tell them to do. And I was going to have to spend a lot of time. I'm having to coach them too. Brent's 26 and Jordan's 30. It's their first time working with me, and I'm of a different ilk. And when it comes to things, we do a lot of things that other programs don't, I'll just say. And so it puts a lot of more time demands on them. And so I wanted to make sure I had a staff that was going to be there whenever we needed them to be there. So I kept the staff small. So they're working their tails off. It's always good to have Coach Tapp there on the bench. He comes when he can. He's been supportive, and he's a good connector between programs and teams of the past and our present. So that's helpful. But I love this place. We haven't found a house yet. I love the school, love the program, like where we're going. I love Montgomery County. I just like the as they say in the Old Testament, the boundary, or in Proverbs, the boundary stones of our basketball program. Whether it's the school, whether it's the community, whether it's our facilities, our players, our talent, MCYB, the middle school, the elementary schools, how the district is set up, our location, everything that's inside of our boundary stones, if you will, for this setup here, really fits who I am, and my wife and my kids as well. So thanks, by the way, for having Junior on the show.
Yeah, he did really good. So you talked about being 7-6,
7-8,
7-8. Sorry, numbers are hard. And you at least 3 games you talked about. Sounds like we've beat ourselves in at least 3 games.
100%.
So, what can we do? And I know you talked about some of it, but what can we do to fix those things? And it truly is, a lot of it is a shift in mindset and culture, right?
Mm-hmm. And they got to quit playing like a people pleaser. And I think they don't want to disappoint me. And that's, if we break that thought down, it would look like, I don't want him to yell at me. I don't want to be embarrassed. I don't want to get called out in film. I like him. I know he's trying to do a good job. I don't want to disappoint him. All those different thought paradigms come into that. But so I've decided to say, look, I'm gonna bark at you if you mess up. That ain't ever changing. And my wife says, she says, yeah, but you got a really loud bark. And that's just sort of who I am, I guess. But I'm very direct. These guys are always going to tell them the truth. And so I think that they're sort of adjusting to that. I'm not a passive person, and I don't coach in a passive way. And when things aren't going well, I need to do a better job of being more composed with these guys versus, no, you don't do this. You're supposed to do this instead. And then they make the same mistake again. I lose patience with them. Okay, you could sit here and say, well, okay, they shouldn't make the same mistake twice. No, they're going to. Yeah. They're going to make the same mistake a third and fourth time too. Right. So I've got to be a little bit more composed during games. I have been here recently. I think that's been helpful. I can't ask them to do things schematically on the floor that doesn't fit who they are. And so I had some things put in that, we got sets that Utah Jazz are running. I got sets that Texas A&M is running, Well, great, good. Pat myself on the back. Good stuff, right? Doesn't mean that Dawson Gentry needs to run that play. Right. You know what I'm saying? So part of this is I'm having to say, okay, just because I like it doesn't mean it fits who we are. So we're having to scrap some things that we've spent a lot of time on that's just not working. So most of what you say, beating ourselves, is my fault. But I don't really regret what we've been through, because I think it's sort of necessary to get to where we want to be. Yeah. I could care less about our record. Really, honestly, I'm not losing sleep over being 7-8. Now I've lost sleep a lot this season, but it's not about the record. It's about the way we've gotten the record. And the scheduling was probably overzealous on my part, but I really don't regret that either, because these kids are getting used to high-level athleticism, high-level coaching, high-level talent. Whereas, guys, just this comes Saturday, we got 2 top 20 teams coming in. We're playing one of them. Last time we played Frederick Douglass was December 12th. They beat us 40. I have never been beat 41. I've never been beat that bad, ever. And it's not about me. But, I didn't know how to help our team that night. Yeah. I felt like I was in the ring with a knife against Rambo. I'm like, what do you do? And our kids felt that way too. So, I'm excited to see how we play against them this time. I think we're going to compete against them, and I'm we beat them, great. We're going to prepare like we're going to beat them, but I just want to fight them, not in a literal sense, right. But I just want to show them that, hey, we're better. We're not going to lay down to you. And that wasn't the best version of who we are on December 12th.
That should be a good measuring stick for you 100%. as a coach and a staff. For 100%. You all to be like, here's where we were. here's where we are now.
Yeah, I mean, guys, whoever's in the state tournament this year, there's probably going to be 4 teams and at least 4 teams in the state tournament that we will have played this year, maybe more. And that doesn't include GRC, district opponent. But I mean, Campbell County is really good. I told everybody they were going to be good. They're ranked in the KSR poll. I think they're 21st. We got them coming to the house here not too long from now. Harrison County is going to be good when they get the Custer kid back. We got Highlands, who's really good this year. The Vincent kid who's at Northern, his little brother is a really good player. So,
No, have we played Great Crossings yet?
No, we don't play them.
We don't?
play them in the summer.
Okay.
We were in some tournaments that they were in, but we never faced them. But I'll be honest with you, I don't want to play them either. I think they're the most talented team in the
They're
state.
pretty tough.
Lyon County is probably the best team
Yeah.
in the state. Those kids have been playing together since they could walk.
And they just beat the snot out of Lexington Catholic.
Yeah. And
By like
Catholic's
20
good.
points.
I mean, Frederick Douglass is good. Woodford County's good. I mean, Ballar's good. I mean, we've played some really good teams, and we're going to continue to play some really good teams. We still got to go to Woodford, and January 30th we go to Woodford. So we're not done. I mean, Woodford and Frederick Douglass were in the Final Four last year. So GRC was in the Final Four last year. We're playing Warren Central in 2 or 3 weeks.
Have they got their players back?
I don't know if he's back yet or not.
Okay, because they struggled early on, and it was because they were down some players.
Yeah, I mean, so we've played everybody. We will have played everybody several times that was in last year's Final Four. So at least these kids know that they're not going to be scared of anybody. Now they're gonna say, yeah, they were better than us and they kicked our tail, but the fear of them is gone. The anxiety of I wonder if we can compete with them, that's gone. Yeah. Now they know, like we played Frederick Douglass this time. They're like, okay, I'm not scared of you. I know you're more athletic than us. I know you're faster, and you can jump. I mean, that Chenault kid guy, I swear to goodness, Superman can leap a building in a single bound. So can the Chenault kid. Yeah. I mean, that kid, he is a human pogo stick. And, he's one of the most athletic high school players I've ever seen. He's a football recruit. He's an SEC football recruit. But
Adam was that way in the hollers of West Virginia.
I was.
I doubt that.
No, it's true. It's true. I would show you videotape, but in West Virginia, stuff gets lost and all that. Coach, something you've mentioned, when you first came on the show, you talked about how you wanted to have a team that the community was proud of.
Yeah.
Who was it? Holy Cross Covington? Or
Covington Holy Cross, yeah.
You're down 16.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sitting at the house watching on NFHS because we didn't make the trip to Estill. Bad on us. I mean, I'm going to talk about the community not getting out to support these teams. It's on me too. But when you all went down 16, I told my wife, I was like, I don't know how this is going to go. But you all found something in the tank, and you think that could be a turning point for the season? Like, maybe. Okay, here we go.
Maybe. I still think we got some more hiccups.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think we have eradicated all the bad moments that we're going to see this season. I think we still got a few more growing pains, if you will. But that game was A, me being composed. B, they finally took a verbal, guys, we have to adapt to what they're doing by doing A, B, and C on a whiteboard at halftime, and they went out there and they did it. Whereas that's been a struggle this year.
I mean, they scored 12 points after that, right? It was 44-43 was final.
Yeah, we've had 12 turnovers this season coming out of timeouts or huddles at quarter breaks. 12 turnovers. And that's unacceptable. That drives me crazy. And so I sit there and badmouth them and, but that's not going to change it. So where am I culpable in that? How am I not communicating properly? And the truth is, it's just going to take more repetitions of getting things right and screwing things up. We're spending a lot more time in film, but I hope so. I hope that's a pivotal point. because we played even better. Lafayette's a good team, although the record's not indicative of it. They're like us. They're getting a lot better, and we played our guts out that game too. But Holy Cross was good. They're a good basketball team. They'll that 9-3. I think the 9th region is the best basketball in the state. Everybody looks at me crazy when I say that. I'm telling you, it is the best basketball.
Is that the
in
northern?
The state. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're like, what about Louisville, Lexington? Cincinnati's bigger than Louisville, Lexington.
Right.
I mean, there's a ton of schools up there.
Yeah.
It's a nice place to live. It's part of the triangle between Louisville, Lexington, and Cincinnati that's growing in this state. Cooper's good. Highlands is good. Cath is always good. Newport's one of the best teams in the state. I think they're a top 5 team right now, give or take, that no one's talking about. They're good. There's just really good basketball teams up there. Boone County's good this year. I'm forgetting some. So that was a good win for us. But I don't know. I hope it's a pivotal point.
You talked about you shouldering a lot of the blame, and you not preparing well or not doing the right things, or whatever. And that's got to feel good for you that you are down. You did. Here's what we need to do: X, Y, and Z.
Mm-hmm.
And your team went out and did that. So it's like, okay, so they are listening. They are listening. I am getting through to them in the appropriate way. So that had to be a good feeling for you as well.
Yeah. And it allows you. See, here's the whole thing. I don't know. I'm sure someone said this before, but it's sort of a revelation I had the other day. What was it? It was after the Gateway, but before the Estill County tournament. I can't create momentum for them.
Right.
They can't play off coach-led momentum. I can't say X and O this, X and O that, X and O that, and boom. All right, we're up 18.
Yeah.
Doesn't work that way.
Right.
Players create the momentum, and then a coach coaches off that momentum.
Right.
Players go out and make plays. They get stops. They score. They hit shots. They force turnovers, and then okay, that's working. We're going to keep doing that. That's neat. Let's tweak this and let's get a little different angle on that. Or hey, ball screen. We're getting some good looks on ball screen pops, or ball screen rolls, or some ISOs. Let's all right. Let's run this set because it gives us another look with that. Oh, they're switching. Okay, we score on this because so and so is having a good game. Brecken's getting to the rim well tonight. He's finished, and he seems like he's in a. All right, let's run this to get a defender on him that I think can get him to the rim. We coach off players' momentum.
Right.
And these guys have been. I almost sort of like saying, "What do you want us to do, Coach? What do you want us to do?" I'm like, I want you to go play and step on somebody's throat, and then I'll be the best version of me if I can coach off the player-led momentum.
Mm.
It doesn't need to be you playing off coach-led momentum.
Right.
So that's we've talked about that, in the locker room, and we've broken that down. So that is where I'm hoping that we continue to stay. Is players are making plays, and then I'm composed as a coach, not in the rear end so much, and I'm more able to let bad moments go, focus on the good moments and learn from those, and continue to do things that they can do and they're comfortable doing based on small successes that they're having in games. So that's where we are on that.
So, Coach, what you've mentioned film a couple of times.
Yeah.
What role does film play in you bettering yourself to learn their style, them learning your style, and getting from A to B to better your team?
Coach Jim Reed used to always say, the eye in the sky don't lie, meaning the camera. It's really been good for me as a coach. So as a head coach at the high school level, film is really telling and what you can do to do a better job coaching your team. Okay. As an assistant, you spend most of your time figuring out your opponents and preparing for them. And Brent and Jordan do an excellent job with that. And then communicating So let's say we have about 15-page scouting reports that the players never see. And they can't believe that. Like, how come we're not showing this to the players? Because the players are going to leave it in their foot locker, and we'll be cleaning it out in July. They're going to retain 5% of this. So make sure the 5% that they're retaining is what they need to retain. That's your job. But to get to that 5%, they have to do deep dives in the film. We have every GRC game that they've played except for one this year already broken down and statted analytically. And we don't play them until next Friday. Okay. So that's assistant jobs. The head coach, at least for me this year, film's telling me how I can be better coaching these kids. Man, that was a stupid call. Why did I do that? What was I thinking there? Okay, I'm wanting E to do this on this ball screen play, and that's just not who he is. I ain't going to do that no more. So now the players, it's a love-hate relationship with the players, film is, because they're either having uncomfortable film sessions or we're making them feel good about themselves. There's nothing in between. It's either one or the other. And that's just the way it's going to be. Anybody says that you shouldn't be making players feel bad about making mistakes come film, that's baloney. That's why they learn. They don't want to make that mistake again. So let's watch it a few times. And let's even slow mode a few times and make sure that you don't make that mistake again. So it's,
because they're going to say they didn't make that mistake.
Right. So but I'm also very analytical. And that's one of the big learning curves that I wasn't prepared for. For example, I was telling Cole Rhodes, Cole, you're just not ducking in transition. And I was like, when you're in the game, you need to run a 5-lane, rim to rim, and whoever is there, do it, smash down, and let's get a good low, wide duck in. Coach, I'm sorry, I don't know what a duck in is. I'm like, how long have I been telling you to duck in transition? A few weeks now. No wonder you're not doing it.
Because you don't know how.
And all right, so take yourself out of the Jason Mays headspace, put yourself in the Cole Rose headspace. I don't know if I'd know what a duck in is either. Duck, what do you mean duck? What duck?
So then he's just going out and doing what he thinks it is.
Yeah, I mean, what's a duck in? Why is the word duck a waterfowl animal? Yeah. Why are you talking about it in basketball?
With it being Cole Rose, I just assumed that meant tackle him on the way down because that's what he's used to doing.
He's doing such a good job of setting illegal screens. Knock on wood. We had a timeout there. I put my hand on his knee. I said, Cole, he's a really nice kid, has a really good family. Don't hurt him. No illegal fouls. He might solve cancer one day, so don't hurt him. Just screen him, be legal, and as he gets around, you just pat him on the butt, say thank you, And he's like, okay. I'm like, no illegal screens, Cole. But he's doing a better job of that. But terminology, man, they didn't know. Yeah. That's just one example with Cole. But and Brecken's notorious for asking me a really good question because Brecken's really smart. A week after he's thought about it, because I think he's like, all right, how am I going to ask Coach what this means? And I think he sort of feels he has to pick his times of when to ask me. I'm like, Brecken, that's a really good question. I wish you'd asked me it 2 weeks ago because you would have known it by then, So terminology, language, that's all part of culture development, How you talk to your team's important, and I'm talking to them like I've talked to all the teams I have since 1999. Using the terminology that I was raised on. That's not their words. That's not their language. That's not their terminology. They got to adapt, and I need to let them have room to do that.
Well, so that brings me, and I'm going to lead into, I think, something you want to talk about. So how important and integral will that be, you getting that terminology into the youth basketball that you've started up this year? Or helped start up, sorry.
Those terminology, those words and stuff, our terminology, our philosophy on the floor will be used in some coaching clinics, some player clinics. But outside of that, I don't want coaches I don't want them to play zone.
Right.
I want them to teach kids how to guard man because they'll actually down the road be better zone defenders if they learn how to play man first. outside of that, we pretty much stick to USA basketball rules and regulations for the league. But, so terminology really only be from a coaching clinic and players clinic standpoint, pretty much same stuff that the kids will see if they come to our camps in the summer. But I mean, that's a good segue if you want to go down that road for the MCYB.
Well, I was going to say,
Yeah,
Adam has mentioned earlier.
I was going to say, like, I know it's fun for me, probably stressful for you.
Yeah.
But that was a great league. I enjoyed it. The kids enjoyed it. And something that you did that it just kind of escaped reality here for some reason. I don't really know why. Was like, you thought, hey, we're keeping score. And as simple as that sounds, like K1 level, we never kept score. And it was like, okay, now these parents have seen that, yes, even 5 and 6 year olds care whether they win or lose. Yeah. Now we can start establishing something here.
Yeah. That's a K1. That's a delicate balance of having perspective and teaching some competitiveness.
Right.
I mean, there's really no right way. A lot of that's dependent on the kid. But, okay. MCYB was a bear. I'm glad we did it the way we did it, although there were gaping inefficiencies. So I'm looking at it more from how can we make it the best in the state? And I need to be thankful that it just happened, The core things, the elementary, having based in the schools, playing in the schools, having school-based teams, all those core principles were huge. So we got that right. 310 kids, 34 teams, 45 coaches, 350 games. I think the first games were the second week of November.
Yeah.
And we ended December 19th.
Yep.
Most people ended December 16th. Okay. So we're talking a month and 2 weeks, so it's a lot of games. Yeah. And I knew I wasn't prepared for all the logistics of it, but that hasn't stopped me from just diving into some kind of endeavor in the past and wasn't going to stop me here. But it was a lot because when season started, we're practicing 4 to 6. Well, the next 2.5, 3 hours, I'm going to gyms, paying referees, making sure coaches got what they need, making sure score clocks are working. Oh, we got to order score clocks. Okay. Making sure that the people learn how to use them and the remotes for them and all this kind of stuff. The next morning at 7 a.m., responding to emails, somebody spilled Kool-Aid on the floor and it's leaving a stain, and we just had the floor done, which I 100% understand and appreciate, but the people that don't understand my side of it, they look at that as a huge issue. And, I have to look at it with their eyes as well without expecting them to see it from my eyes. Yeah. So there was just a lot. And so a lot of time, a lot of hours. This thing was nonstop. And so we ran it, just pretty much the three of us, myself and Jordan and Brent. I scheduled every practice, it was crazy. But now, because we did it that way, we know exactly how to do it next year.
Yep.
When to do it, how to do it better, what we need help doing, what kind of person we need to do this task, what kind of person we need to do this task, how much we need to budget for on these things, calendaring, how to work better with administrators and physical education teachers and custodial staffs. It's as simple as like, okay, your key card now works for all the elementary school gyms. Great, thank you. Go in there. Oh, it doesn't. We didn't turn it on for after 5 o'clock. Well, the league doesn't start till 6 o'clock every night, So, okay, we'll change that. Oh, Camargo's doesn't use the key card system. They're on a hard key system. Okay, I got to get in Camargo, Our bleachers aren't working. Okay, reschedule this and that. There was always, every day there was something.
And then there was your Christmas program, your Thanksgiving there was all of that
we
stuff.
Tried to be prepared for those.
Yeah.
But sometimes, we missed on one, or somebody, one principal said, well, I turned it into the school district's facility use. They filled out a facility use form. Well, I never see those.
Right.
Only principals see those. So I had no idea, but this person thought that I did see those. So it's just always something. I had most of the uniforms, but there was some uniform issues where I let some kids register late and didn't plan appropriately for their individual uniforms to be done. And so some kids went most of the season without a uniform, which I hated, but we also fell into this shortage. We were fortunate to get uniforms when we did, because for about 2 or 3 weeks after that, she couldn't get any. So we finally got that solved. And then one week I say, hey, don't we need to do pictures? For league? I'm like, we're going to have pictures, I mean, just let's throw that together, So it was really like a gumbo of Parks and Recreation kind of deal. We just sort of just threw it all in and hope it tastes good at the end. So now what we're going to do for anybody listening is in April, I'm going to get through our basketball season, because it did take a lot of focus off the team. That's one of the reasons probably too is there was a lot of focus on that and not on my team.
Yep.
And that may have been why I wasted but I think long term, I'm not going to regret that. But we're going to have a board of directors for the MCYB that's going to be part of our booster organization. And they're going to be a direct report to our booster organization. I'll still be involved in it, obviously, but we want parents and community people to run it. And I don't need to run it. I need to show up and have a full, warm heart just watching those kids play, and not go in thinking, okay, which parent's going to blast me about, this referee wasn't calling fair, or the coach is being too loud to their son. I mean, it didn't have a lot of those. I think parents and coaches and referees were all very patient and understanding. I tried to communicate well. We didn't have an end of season tournament like I originally had wanted, but I promised the school district I wouldn't play during Christmas break, and I couldn't break that promise. And so, Gateway was starting on the 20th. The last day of the season was the 19th. I'm sorry, something's got to give. It's just one of those things. Whereas next year we're going to go into January, probably all the way through January. We'll take off the 2 weeks for Christmas, and we'll start back this time of the year. We'll have more regular season games, and we're going to have a city tournament. The Mount Sterling City Tournament. And thankful, I hope it's okay that White Graham Maggard and Mount Sterling Pediatric Dentistry were our sponsors this year. Couldn't have done it without them, but couldn't have done it without Dr. Thompson, Dr. Koros, our superintendent, deputy superintendent, all the principals, assistant principals, custodians, the PE teachers. I mean, because I'm cleaning up a gym at 8:30 at night, at 8 o'clock, at 11 and a half hours later, there's 40 kids in there ready for class. And that's a teacher's world. Yep. And you have to handle that with respect and understanding. So it's just, we're going to hire site administrators to where I'm not going to have to worry about, having one of my assistants leave practice to go unlock an elementary school that was already supposed to be unlocked, because the custodian was sick that day and I didn't know about it. So that we got a bunch of parents out in the freezing cold waiting to get in the gym, which I don't like, but that happened, just little inefficiencies like that we got to straighten out and clean up. And I think everybody as a whole understood that, and they had patience in that regards, which again speaks to this community, so it was fun. It was hard, and we're going to make it really good. And we're going to have one of the best youth basketball leagues in the state of Kentucky. We're going to have over 400 kids in that thing next year.
Nice.
I mean, seeing those kids just put on their school colors, like there was a pride that went about. I'm like, hey, we're playing for MSE. To the teachers out there that might be listening, like seeing those kids look in the stands and say, hey, that's my teacher. That's my teacher. My teacher's at the game. Like, you can't beat that joy on a kid's face. And yes, they care who scores and all that, but at the same time, they're just happy you show up for them.
Yeah.
And that was a big deal. And I appreciate everything you've done, because most high school coaches, they're not going to care about little league, like 5-6-year-olds. Why care about them? It's 10 years before I get them or whatever. But you really took the time. You've done it right. I think it was a successful first season. A lot less stressful for me than it was you.
Yeah. mean, I'm a basketball coach. I'm 47 years old, and I can remember Mr. Armstrong at Sharonville Youth Center, my first practice as an 8-year-old playing for the Golden Eagles. And so I just kept reminding myself of that. One of those kids is out there, and maybe he's going to be a really good player one day, and I'm going to be glad that I did this.
Right.
So, and that's part of getting bigger crowds, more engaged community. Is that all that goes into it. Look, I'm a realist. I promise you I am. Like, our product on the floor has to improve before we expect those seats to be filled. And we're working on that, and that'll happen. But all these other auxiliary things on the peripheral go into that. So,
Absolutely. Well, Coach, we're going to mix it up a little bit. We're going to talk some other stuff.
let's do it.
You ready? So we always do this 5 topics in 5 minutes, but it never takes 5 minutes.
It takes like 55 minutes.
It does. But I got 5 topics that I want to end the show with. And then before we finish, we will name this week's Chemsoft Athlete of the Week.
I tried to do that on the coach's corner, and I got shut down really quickly.
Yeah, because we did the Dog of the Week.
I didn't know that there was no notes.
Yeah. So, but NFL playoffs.
Playoffs?
There is 20 teams going into this weekend that still have a shot
A
at the
mathematical
playoffs.
chance.
Yeah. And the
Carolina Panthers are
Pittsburgh
not.
Steelers can actually still get in and lose.
Yeah.
It's crazy. This is the most teams that have had this opportunity in like 20 something years going into the last weekend of the thing. So the Browns are in. The Bills can be the number 2 seed, or they can miss the playoffs.
Yeah.
How crazy is that? It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Niners have locked up the 1 seed.
Because Philadelphia gifted that to them.
Yes, I saw that.
And then the Ravens have locked up the number 1 seed.
Is Philadelphia broken?
No, too talented.
But they lost 4 out of 5?
Yeah. I think they really miss Shane Steichen and the Gannon guy. I think they missed their coordinators from last season. If McCaffrey is not healthy, that changes the dynamic for the 49ers getting to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
I know Mitchell's good, but he's not McCaffrey. So I don't know. The NFC to me is wide open. Detroit can win that, but they can get blown out too.
My fear is it's going to be the Dallas Cowboys.
What are your thoughts on that Detroit Cowboys game? The ending of
It
it.
was scripted. The NFL
It
is
was in the
scripted.
script.
So it's unanimous. You guys thought the Lions got screwed.
Oh,
No.
yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely.
So
Especially when the referee told him that he was that he was good.
okay, so on the video, why else would 68 walk? He was with 70, but why else would 68 walk up to that referee in that manner at that time if he wasn't reporting in?
Right. And
The only
according to Dan
person that
Campbell,
did not talk to the official was 70.
And that's who they said
And
reported.
that's
Yeah.
who they said actually reported.
and according to Dan Campbell, this is something that has gone over prior to the game every time. This guy can be eligible. This guy can be eligible. We may do this. We may run this fake punt. He says there's a dry erase, or no, it was Rex Ryan says there's a dry erase board that you're drawing some of this stuff out, talking about it prior to the game with the referees. But those refs have, by the way, been relegated.
But then they won't come out and say that they made a bad call.
No, but they went all the way around it to say that.
It's
No,
like,
he doubled down on his decision.
yes, he would not
He
come out and say it was a
doubled
bad
down
call.
on it and said, no, here is how this all happened.
Yeah.
And he went and retold the story.
But the
And it's
NFL has
still
come out
wrong.
and taken them off the playoff rotation. But nobody has said that. The NFL has admitted it's because it was a bad call without admitting it. But the referees are like, nope, it was a good call.
I thought it was a well executed play. I thought Campbell had some momentum. I thought talk about coaching off players' momentum.
Yeah.
That final drive, he was coaching off players' momentum. I mean, he was dotting eyes across the T's.
And he, if he could get away with it, he'd suit up and be out there
Well,
tomorrow.
listen, if you have listened to our show for any amount of time, especially way back when, I was a proponent of Dan Campbell being fired a long time ago.
Yeah.
I was like,
I was
he's not going to make it.
I was not.
And
You
I
two
wasn't,
were
I wasn't
heavy.
either.
Yeah,
No,
when they started 1-6 last year, he was calling for his job.
I was always anti Dan Campbell.
Yeah.
And I'm happy to report that I was wrong.
Yeah, and I mean, another one of those opportunities where you trust the process and an actual process, right? But the thing with Detroit is they've hammered every single draft pick over the last couple of years, and that's obsolete. Nobody does that.
Well, and before we move on, we were talking about 20 teams, but like that loss, cost Detroit a chance at maybe the number 1 overall seed in the NFC.
Yeah.
And now they're not going, like they'll get to host one game, but then they'll have to be on the road probably.
Yeah, they have to win now to make sure they get the 3 seed.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Baltimore's playing well.
well, yeah,
Oh.
yeah.
Are they?
Yeah.
Oh.
And so I'll skip number 2. We'll come back and do college football in a minute, which leads me to believe, has Lamar locked up the MVP?
Absolutely.
It's hard to pass on.
I don't know who would get
I mean, I know early in the season he was turning the ball over a lot because he cost me a lot of wins in fantasy football. But over the last month, he has played out of his mind, which paying him the money now makes sense, right? And a lot of people didn't think that they would do that, but I mean, Brock Purdy cost himself the MVP against the Ravens.
Right.
They just kept taking the ball from him. He got hurt and they took him out.
Brock Purdy looks like a 12-year-old boy.
Yeah.
And he doesn't look like he should be able to do the things that he's doing.
Well, they're locked into him, though. He's their long-term solution at quarterback.
Kyle Shanahan better hope.
And going into the next question, who's your Super Bowl pick?
Well, I'm telling you, I'm bought into this conspiracy of the color of the Super Bowl logo, and I'm going Ravens 49ers.
Did you see
They
have
changed it.
alternated?
They have
that?
alternated, and they think it's because of the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah. Yeah.
I swear to John, if the Dallas Cowboys end up in the Super Bowl, it is scripted 100%.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know that anybody can beat the Ravens if they're healthy.
Yeah.
Their defense is unbelievable. Their running game is great. And Lamar is really starting to use Isaiah Likely and Zay Flowers.
And you're seeing Patrick Mahomes look human.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't have weapons to throw to.
he's
Hey,
got-
listen, have you all seen the conspiracy that Taylor Swift, the longtime Eagles fan, dated
Yep.
Travis Kelce
on purpose.
on purpose
She's destroyed
to destroy him from within?
Yeah.
You remember a few years ago when Cowboys quarterback this NFL game,
Tony Romo.
Tony Romo.
Romo was dating was it
Carrie
Britney?
Underwood?
No, Britney Spears, wasn't it?
Was he dating Britney Spears?
I don't know. He was dating some musician.
Oh,
Yes.
He
was
dated
it-
Carrie Underwood.
No, it wasn't Carrie Underwood. It was
Britney Spears.
was it?
Jessica Simpson.
Jessica Simpson.
Yep,
That's-
there you go.
yeah.
Literally just came to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, same kind of
Right.
rumors were flowing about.
I'm telling you, Taylor Swift was mad that they lost to the Kansas City Chiefs in the Super Bowl. She's like, I'll get them. I'm going to take them down from
You
within.
saying Tay Tay is Yoko?
She slid into Travis's DMs.
Yep.
And set the negative path.
We talked on the last show that we are a wrestling podcast at our core. We're not too long before Taylor Swift takes the hood off and it was me, Kansas City. It was me all
It
along.
was me all along.
Like the old Scooby Doo.
No, like the Vince McMahon.
Yeah, I know, but Scooby Doo.
I just said wrestling.
Oh, well.
Go on. Just stop talking.
So last night was the semifinals in the college football playoff. 2 really, really good games. That Michigan-Alabama game, one of the best games I've ever seen. At one point, it's 13-10 in the third quarter. Michigan cannot move the ball. Adam, me and you both text go, this is Alabama's game.
And then Milroe fumbled.
Yeah.
Change the whole dynamic.
Yep.
And he looked defeated after that.
He did. He looked scared at times,
Mhm.
and he looked a lot like he did when they played South Florida earlier in the season.
He didn't play that game.
He was one of the 3.
They all played in that game.
No, he wasn't.
Who were the three quarterbacks they played?
There was only two.
No, they
There
played
was
three
three.
in
No, they
South Florida.
played the backup quarterback
Go
and
look
the
it up.
third string. Doubt me.
I'm not doubting you. I'm just saying go look it up.
Yeah,
I'll look it up right now.
All
yeah,
look it
look it up because you're wrong. Because they all three,
We won't bet on it.
they all three played.
We
in
won.
the-
Y'all want to bet a box of fudge rounds?
I'll put a box
Sure.
of fudge rounds on it.
I'll throw in a box of fudge rounds.
All right.
Darren, you
Coach, did you watch the game?
Yeah, I watched both of them. I went to bed at 1 o'clock this morning.
That was tough, wasn't it?
Yeah, but we start school back tomorrow. I thought Saban was he was unique. What's the verdict there?
What's box score say now?
It does say.
Only two quarterbacks?
It does say only two quarterbacks.
Fudge rounds? Fudge rounds. Coming here.
I'll bring him a box of fudge rounds.
But I
Because
thought,
Milrow never threw a pass. That's
No,
what
it's
it was.
because
It doesn't say he
no,
ran either.
Milrow got benched
The game
following the
before.
Texas game, and that's the game he got benched, and it was Saban wanted to see how he reacted.
I thought Saban was different than he ever has been last night. I thought he was at peace with how far. I think he was at peace feeling that they maxed out this year.
And he said that
Yeah.
in his interview afterwards. He was like, I don't look at it as winning and losing. He said, I look at it as where this team was to where this team got.
Yeah.
It could be one of the best teams that I've ever
I mean,
coached.
after the South Florida game, people were like,
Well, I mean, we were like, he's done after this year,
yeah,
right?
Yeah,
I'm still not convinced he's not done after
No,
this year.
there's people that are around him that are a lot closer to him than we are, and they're all saying that he's as bought in now as he's ever been.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got the Heisman Trophy winner on his team next year.
I saw something I've never seen before with him the other day.
He smiled.
A dip cup in a Ferrari.
Oh yeah, I saw
I
that.
saw the Ferrari.
Put the dip cup in. And the door had all the packages of Red Man.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm like, that's probably the only Ferrari in the history of mankind has ever had Red Man in the door.
You're right.
He only drives that on Wednesdays.
I enjoy when they show the clips of him in practice and he's got his hat on and he gets really upset and he'll take his paper and he'll be like he slaps his paper and then he cusses the kid. It's fantastic.
Yeah,
What,
he got,
he doesn't. He calls them by their number until they earn his respect. So if we're in film right now and it's September. Now 12, I don't know what you're thinking here, or 81, I don't know what kind of route you thought you were running here, but we're in, and he calls them by numbers, and so it's like a rite of passage. If he would say, "Okay, now Sean, you did a good thing here," and I'm like, "Oh, he called me by my name,"
I made it.
I'm here.
and I didn't know that about him because he knows her name,
Yeah.
but it's sort of a thing. He calls you by your jersey number until you earn. the
Well,
respect
it's a
of
lot
being
like
called by your
with
name.
with Prime,
Gotta earn your number.
you're earning the number.
Yeah.
Which I assume did he wind up winning?
I don't
the
know.
vote.
I haven't looked.
It was way out. I was really surprised by that.
So, Michael Penix Jr. is the best player in college football right now.
Yes.
right now.
Right now,
Can he beat Michigan?
no, it's Michigan's to win.
How do you beat him?
No way.
How do you
Michigan's
beat Michael Penix?
I'm telling you.
If you look at that game last night, Texas was sitting too deep.
Do you want to double
So-
or nothing on fudge rounds?
That's a lot of fudge.
No, because I want my box of fudge rounds guaranteed.
Okay. Well, I mean, but if you're right, you'll get two.
But listen, Texas was blitzing. He's got receivers that make plays. Texas was sitting back too deep. He was just picking apart the zone. How do you beat him? You can't sack him.
Michigan's been the best team all year long.
Rome and Duze,
He's a bad man.
he's him.
Yeah,
I think it's a bad matchup for Michigan.
I do too.
I do too.
I thought
I'm-
I thought
Like,
the Alabama
it
game
can be
was
a bad matchup. I mean, you're both right. Michigan can be the better team.
Yeah.
It could just be a bad matchup for Michigan.
I think
I mean, their
Texas
defense
wins,
is
they've
gonna-
already beat them in Alabama. Texas and Alabama are like mirror images of one another. Washington's a different animal.
I think it's Michigan's.
Well, you kind of heard it after the game. Washington's players are mad that Penix did not win the Heisman, and they're trying to prove something for him. And I mean, he picked apart that Texas defense all night long last night. How in the world Texas managed to get back in that game blew
with a chance
my
to
mind.
win.
Yeah. That took an incredible play at the end of the game for them to win. But I think it'll be another great game. I'm not going to be surprised either way. but I think Washington is going to be.
That's insightful thought there, Sean. I think either team
I
can
can
win.
see either team winning.
I can see either team winning.
Either Michigan or Washington will 100% win that
I
game.
feel confident in that.
We had a GA at Valdosta State. He went to go see a kid play one time. He come back. I said, all right, how'd he look? Well, he does some things well and some things he doesn't do so well.
That's totally
Was his
me.
name Sean Copley?
I said, I don't even know where to start with you.
I relived one of the greatest Bobby Knight quotes of all time yesterday, and it was, "Coach, how'd you lose the game?" And he said, "That's the dumbest question I've ever heard. They scored more points than we did." Of course, he said more colorful language there, but that was the gist of it. He said they scored more points than we did. That's how we lost.
Is the Johnson kid hurt? Do we know anything from the number 7, the running back?
Dylan Johnson. I haven't seen anything
Well,
today.
they took him out on a cart at the
Yeah.
end, right?
Now that matters too.
Yeah, it does.
He's their best legs,
Yeah.
as far as running the ball.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think the coach knew after the game what they thought it was, but he wouldn't. Nobody would say. And
Well,
I
he was
didn't see
hurt
anything
earlier in the
today.
game.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
he did get hurt early.
He had already hurt his knee earlier in the game, but I think it's bad.
And
I
that's
don't
another
think
thing.
you'll see him in the championship.
Like with that allowed Texas to get back in the game because that was an injury timeout. If you can hop to the sideline to save a timeout, you got to
Right.
hop to the sideline. You
Have
got
you
to get
guys
there.
carry or something?
Yeah. I mean, West Virginia last game of the season against
Everything
Baylor.
goes back to West Virginia.
Well, their center broke his leg. Last play, one of the last plays they're driving down to win the game. Center breaks his leg. He gets on all fours, well, 3, 2 hands and 1 leg, and hops to the sideline so they didn't have to burn their last time out.
I mean, Byron Leftwich played with a broken leg
He got carried the whole way down the field.
length of the field.
One of the craziest things I ever saw.
So we want to do double or nothing.
No,
So you're not that confident.
I just really want 2 boxes of fudge rounds.
No, you get 1 box of fudge rounds from me. I said no or nothing from me.
I know, but
So you'll still
2.
get 1 box.
No,
Okay.
So, since we talked about it here just a second ago, an interesting thing that I came across today is this is the first time since Nick Saban was the coach of 2007 at Alabama that they have went 3 years in a row without winning a national championship. You're saying he's more bought in now, more now than ever.
It was me that said that. That's what the people around him were saying,
And
that he's more bought in now than he's ever
I've
been.
seen that as well.
Are they any longer a threat?
Yes.
100%. As long as Nick Saban's there, they're always a threat.
They're more of a threat now than they would be if they won, probably.
Because now they got the chip on their shoulder.
Yeah.
And return a lot of people.
And return Jalen Milroe.
I can tell you this: it is going to be really fun watching 12 teams battle this out next year.
It's
You
going
think
to be.
so?
I do.
At the expense of the other bowl games? Because that's what's going to happen.
Well, but the thing about it is the reason being is the kids will now stay at these 12 schools. You won't have a Florida State. Well, we're mad. We're not playing, so we're not going to play. And lose 63-3. Look at Missouri. Not a single player set out or transferred, and they go out and they beat Ohio State. And yeah, they beat a non-starting quarterback Ohio State.
I don't even
but
know
it was
he's on scholarship.
They beat second and third string Ohio State.
But it was a
Barely.
gigantic
Barely.
win
It was.
for Missouri.
It was a good win for their
In
program.
morale, in recruiting, any way you want to look at it, the team came together and they beat
And it couldn't
At
happen
Ohio
to a
State.
better guy than just for men Ryan Day.
your favorite coach.
I despise him.
Yeah. So
Easy.
I don't like Ryan Day.
Are you a Michigan fan?
I'm not.
Why?
Why am I not a Michigan fan?
No.
Because I don't feel like he has earned it. I don't think he earned that job. That's a premier job. And
He's done a good job.
Has he though?
Yeah.
What's he done? Lost to
Man.
Michigan 3 years in a row.
And that's so his daughter played on my AAU team. And
now you're getting personal,
Oh,
Adam.
no,
Neil.
no, it's trust me. And their kids have had to change schools 3 times because of that Michigan game. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, like the Ohio State fans don't tolerate that.
No.
And then he
But-
loses to Missouri in the bowl game. He's been successful. He's only lost 9 games or something in his coaching career. and the dude's going to be on the hot seat if he doesn't turn things around.
Yeah. The one
I
thing,
think that's a fair statement.
the one thing about Ohio State is they have to play their way down. They never have to earn their way up. And it's been that way for 40 years. I mean, Ohio State's automatically going to be in the top 4 or 5 every
So is
year.
Alabama.
I was going to say, so's Alabama.
Yeah, but Alabama's won how many national championships?
They have.
You know, Ohio State's got 2 in the 2000s.
So 2 things. Dylan Johnson's X-rays all come back negative. The update today is they expect him to play in the national championship.
That's big.
That's good.
The other thing on Saban, I saw today also, this will be the first season in the Saban era at Alabama that they have not been number 1 for at least a week.
Huh.
That's pretty impressive.
Yes.
Very impressive. But
Yeah.
I'm on the Lane train.
I love Lane Kiffin.
Next year. I mean, if they can compete in the arms race of recruiting with Alabama and Georgia and LSU, he's going to be there.
And he's
They
still in
looked
the portal
very
right
impressive
now.
against Penn State.
Yeah.
And Penn State's defense was at full strength.
Yeah.
And they put more points on them than anybody else did.
His
this year.
teams can score.
And Jackson Dart will be back, right?
Yeah, he announced he's coming back.
Which one other thing before we wrap up. Who was the kid that was the freshman at UCLA?
Dante Moore, he's
Yeah.
at Oregon now.
What about the fact that he chose to go to Oregon knowing he wasn't going to start so he could learn the system?
He committed to Oregon first.
Yeah,
Committed
no.
to Oregon out of high school, switched to UCLA,
Yeah.
and then went back to Oregon after a year.
Yeah, no, but that's the crazy part about that is in this day and age of the transfer portal, I want to play. He goes in to a place that he knows he's not going to play for at least 1 year. I think that's a different aspect that you haven't seen. Look at the Spencer kid that went to Ole Miss. He left Oklahoma State to go to Ole Miss. He could have went to Florida and started.
That was Lane Kiffin just making sure nobody else had him because that kid's a senior. Spencer
Yeah.
Sanders, that was
He's
his
done.
1 year of eligibility,
Yeah.
and he chose to be the backup to Jackson Dart.
You know,
Yeah.
that happens more than we realize is a kid committing to school A, changing his mind, usually near the last second, to school B, and then ends up back at school A.
It's like, oops, I made a mistake.
And the reason why that happens is because they commit to school A. Well, school B panics because they lost kid A, B, and C. So they give false expectations and promises to this kid to get him at the last second. And it sways the kid. And he gets there and he realizes they were exactly that, false expectations and a false premise of why he should be there. And he ends up going back where the integrity lied in the first place. That happens quite a bit now.
Yeah. No, you're right. And
Yeah.
you know, the grass is not always greener, right?
Usually over the sewer.
You only all over the sewer.
Oh shoot. Well, that was fun.
Well, you want to name our athlete of the week?
Well, Adam down there is the one that suggested him. I thought we'd just let him do it.
He probably doesn't even remember who he suggested.
He
Let's
knows.
see here. Athlete of the week.
I mean, did we win? Did we win a tournament?
He was the Engineer Classic. That is what it was called, right?
I think so.
Railroad Classic.
I call it the Choo Choo Classic.
Yeah, it was the Railroad Classic. MVP, Brecken Decker.
Yes, sir.
Congratulations, Brecken.
First time. Or at least it's first time in the T-shirt era.
Right.
So he's probably a 2X, isn't he, Coach?
No, he's a large.
I was joking.
Oh. Sorry, my brain's on.
That's okay.
That's all right. Well, this was fun. We appreciate you coming on with us, Coach, and
I'm
you
proud
know,
of you guys.
talking
man.
about some other stuff. Hey, we hit the 1,000 follower mark
Yeah.
right on New Year's Eve.
Well, you didn't hit a check mark, so
You
I
know,
haven't had the opportunity to update that yet.
it's not checks. I
no
don't
check,
believe
so it
it.
doesn't happen.
Nope.
We also hit the 7,500 download mark.
Well, there's 2 checks missing.
It happened about 11:30 Sunday morning.
We standing in the church vestibule and it was like click, 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 click. Oh wow, we just hit it.
It's because Adam and I motivated you.
We did.
Right.
Reverse psychology.
You know who y'all need to get on here?
Who's that?
Bart, Coach Risen.
Yes,
100%.
1,000,000%. Maybe he can bring Billy Ray with him.
Well, I was getting ready to actually say Bart and Billy Ray.
Yep.
I don't think he'll be back until February, though. He's in Texas for a few months. He has a place in Texas. But you need to get Coach Risen on here. Only God knows what he'll say.
That's okay.
We're not on ESPN or any network. You can't censor it.
No.
We're good.
Well, you guys are doing a good job, and I hope that you continue to gain sponsors. And this is a part of the fabric of this community. What you guys do, sports are important to people.
Yeah,
they are. Sometimes too important, but they are important because it helps a community create identity.
Yeah.
And you guys are chartering that, and that's awesome.
well, it's awesome, and we're glad to have you be a part of it. One last thing before we wrap up. This weekend,
Yeah.
Saturday, we've got the
Joe B. and Denny.
Joe B. and Denny Classic. What time's the first game?
Well, technically, we're going to have a JV game because we were supposed to play Frederick Douglass JV varsity on February 12th, but they had a schedule issue, so our JV team couldn't play. So they're going to play. Our JV team is going to play Frederick Douglass at 4. Rockcastle County plays Fairdale at 6. 2 very good teams.
Fairdale's ranked, right?
Yep. And we play Frederick Douglass at 8. So 4, 6, and 8.
Okay.
So there'll be some gaps in between, but I like that. I'd like for teams to have 30 minutes to warm up.
Yeah. Well,
You guys coming out?
we are. We are going to be there.
You setting up?
We'll be live for the 2 varsity games. Hopefully, if everything goes well, we will have some new merchandise to showcase while we're there, so we can sell some shirts
Do you know
while
about
we're
new
there.
merchandise?
And
I only accept free merchandise.
we are working on having a special interview during the first game. So I don't
know
want
about
to.
this one.
I don't
Do
wanna
know about that one.
I don't want to
I
spill it
won't
yet
be there,
because it's
but
not
I-
100%. But we're hoping that we'll have a special interview. So
Do you want me to come up with a player after our game? You guys
Absolutely.
Still going to be set up
Absolutely.
after the game?
Yep.
Okay, we'll do that.
awesome. Well,
Neil,
guys,
the new merchandise is the logo. We're changing it a little bit.
Mhm.
We're gonna put the back of my head because
Okay.
I'm always looking at you. Put the back of my head. in
Guy's
front
got
of-
jokes.
he does.
Wrap
Nobody's
this-
laughing.
Wrap this up.
All right,
I
guys.
will say Jessica has made it very clear that 7 of those final followers were hers. She invited her entire friends list.
All seven.
All seven. She's got an amazing friends list. It's very in depth.
All right, guys. There you have it for another episode of the From Corner to Corner podcast. We'll catch you guys next week.
Stay safe, friends.